Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Ascend 2.0 BruinBuy Plus virtual roadshow. Let's get started. As a reminder, this roadshow will be recorded, and we ask that you submit questions using the QA function below. Any of your questions that we don't answer today will get posted on the website under the FAQ link. We have a full agenda today for this roadshow. First, we'll go through a series of go-live readiness updates in order to prepare you for what will be happening from now through BruinBuy Plus system go live. We will also have a training update and information regarding our change leaders. Then there will be the campus premiere of the BruinBuy Plus end-to-end demonstration. Lastly, we'll have time for Q&A. Please take a moment to welcome our guest speakers, Janelle Vinci, Associate Director of Campus Procurements, John Tan, Admin Analyst, Alexi Lee, our Purchasing Lead, and Jennifer Ferry, Assistant CIO. This roadmap shows the various phases that BruinBuy Plus Release 1 has and will undergo, all the way through the system go live. In taking a look at our roadmap, you will see we have recently finished testing for BruinBuy Plus. Most noteworthy to call out from testing is the user acceptance testing completed last month, where we had selected representation from across campus based on user roles in BruinBuy to test the system and ensure it meets UCLA's needs and provide valuable feedback. We are now entering the training phase of R1, that's Release 1. More to come later on what to expect from training. Before we continue with the readiness updates, we'd like to take a moment to announce the official BruinBuy Plus go live date. BruinBuy Plus will be going live on January 2nd, 2024. As we transition from BruinBuy to BruinBuy Plus, this will require a 2-week procurement system shutdown. We heard your concerns and understand that a 2-week shutdown during the academic semester is a major concern. Therefore, we've established a go-live date that will coincide with UCLA's winter break, resulting in minimal disruption to your departments. With that, I'm going to pass it to Alexi. Alexi?
Thank you, OT. First, we're going to go over the purchase order migration. So as we prepare to go live with BruinBuy Plus, our current POs in BruinBuy that meet the following criteria will be programmatically migrated to BruinBuy Plus. All subaward and subcontracts with activities within 18 months of go live will be migrated. Other POs within activities within 18 months of go live, a PO balance of $1,000 and has no open invoices will also be migrated. However, not all POs will be migrated. B class or blanket POs will not be migrated. Therefore, it will need to be recreated in BruinBuy Plus as a declining balance purchase order, POs with hold and incomplete or HNI invoices will only be migrated to BruinBuy Plus when those HNIs are resolved. Additionally, POs aligned with one-time payees will also remain in BruinBuy. Here, you'll see the key activities to how POs will be migrated from BruinBuy to BruinBuy Plus. Steps 1 to 3 describes how POs that meet the criteria are programmatically extracted, migrated, and closed, and have their encumbrance released. These 3 steps will repeat in sweeps into sweep additional POs as HNIs are cleared through the end of 2023. POs that do not meet the migration criteria will be programmatically closed and have its encumbrance released, as shown in step 4 and 5. If these POs are still needed after the migration effort, it will need to be recreated in BruinBuy Plus after go live. Thank you. There are several actions your department can take to ensure a seamless PO migration process. Your department is responsible for completing all the following pre-work items to help us, UCLA, to prepare for the implementation of BruinBuy Plus. So first, resolve any HNI invoices in BruinBuy by the end of 2023. Second, confirm any encumbrance transactions in the budget subsidiary ledger are accurate by September 2023. Third, make sure your vendors are registered in PaymentWorks, again, by September 2023. Next, I'm going to turn it over to John for more information on one-time payees.
Thank you, Alexi. So something to highlight here is that with the transition to BruinBuy Plus, some specialty payments will follow new processes. Specialty payments are defined as non-procurement transactions. In this chart, you can view payment types and where the system they are currently being processed in versus the future state system that they will be processed in. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list of specialty payments. Additional information, including future state processes and trading materials, is forthcoming. All vendors, including those associated with non-procurement transactions or specialty payments, may be required to register in the PaymentWorks system before purchase orders can be processed and invoices paid. New vendors and vendors associated with specialty payments are vendors who have not conducted business with UCLA prior to June 30th. Existing vendors are vendors who have conducted business with UCLA prior to June 30th. Both of these groups must be registered in PaymentWorks. UCLA's vendor management team and onboarding specialists are working to assist vendors not yet registered in PaymentWorks. Please see their contact info at the bottom of this slide. As part of the transition to BruinBuy Plus, the new way UCLA processes invoices is changing beginning when the system goes live in January 2024. The new process will be as follows. Step 1 is BruinBuy Plus will email POs directly to the vendor. Step 2 is vendors are instructed to send invoices to a centralized email address that will ingest them into the system. And last, step 3, invoices will be captured by a digital capture, an optical character recognition tool, and then managed by accounts payable. Once BruinBuy Plus is live, Transepta and the vendor submission portal will no longer be available. All vendors, including those associated with non-PO transactions, must be registered in the PaymentWorks system before purchase orders can be processed and invoices paid. Please view the fund manager and PI subaward subcontract invoice review approval process below. So for the fund manager and PO and PI approval process, the first step would be AP will receive and review the invoice. Next, the fund manager and PI will review and approve the invoice. Lastly, upon approval, AP will then go ahead and pay the invoice. Please note that customized consolidated training for fund managers and PIs will be offered in the weeks leading up to and after go live. More details will be communicated in the coming weeks. So now I'll pass it over to Janelle to talk about PAN reviewer key changes.
Thanks, John. So PAN reviewers will review transactions in their reporting dashboard in BruinBuy Plus in lieu of receiving an email notification. And we recognize that this is a change and there will be lots of training surrounding this topic. All PAN reviewers will be granted a newly established role in DEX to allow them to review those transactions within BruinBuy Plus. And with that, I am now going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We'll be providing you with a brief update on the plans that we have underway for our end user training. Throughout the overall timeline, plans have been underway to ensure that we have our end users adequately prepared for our BruinBuy Plus go live. So outlined below, you'll see that we'll discuss the training timeline, time commitment, delivery mechanisms, as well as the support that we have planned. From an end user training perspective, we are kicking off our Train the Trainer in October, and then our instructor-led training will follow beginning in November. From a time commitment perspective, what can you expect? Our campus buyers can expect approximately a 6-hour training class. PAN reviewers, PIs, and fund managers can expect a 1-hour training class. And then for additional roles that are inherent to this go live, these can be planned at 1 to 3 hours, depending on the roles and responsibilities of each of those individuals. Responsibilities may vary, so therefore the training needs might so as well. From a training delivery perspective, we will be offering instructor-led training across the board for all of those that will be in scope for our BruinBuy Plus Go Live. These will also be available as a follow-up as web-based courses. We will offer videos as well as quick reference guides and step-by-step instructions to ensure that you have a full toolkit available to you in support of this Go Live. From a training support perspective, again, all users will be equipped with user manuals, FAQs. We'll also be offering learning labs and office hours. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive on each of the courses that will be offered on the next slide. BruinBuy Plus role-based training. There are 5 key verticals of training that we're going to be offering relative to BruinBuy Plus. From a campus buyer perspective, this includes all employees that complete shopping in BruinBuy Plus. Currently, these are all of those with the role AP 730 in DAX. From a research perspective, there are 2 key roles that will be trained as part of this Go Live: fund managers, as well as principal investigators or PIs. And this is to provide the instruction on how to review and approve subaward and subcontract invoices in BruinBuy Plus. PAN reviewers will be trained as well to review transactions in BruinBuy Plus. And then we have 2 central teams that will be in scope for this Go Live. From a central procurement perspective, this includes central purchasing, accounts payable, as well as vendor management. And then from a central department approver perspective, this includes individuals from select departments that review and approve transactions through workflow and require additional approval. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Janelle. Oh, okay, change leaders, sorry. Okay, with that, okay, change leaders. So change leader network. Thank you first and foremost to all of those that have kind of raised their hand to be a change leader for BruinBuy Plus. I know this is an additional hat that you wear in parallel with all the roles and responsibilities that you have inherent to your roles within the university. So thank you very much. Who are the change leaders? It's a nominated team of individuals from all corners of UCLA. They operate as liaisons between our Ascend 2.0 program featuring BruinBuy Plus, as well as Finance end users. So this provides a great way for us to share out information as well as retrieve feedback from all of our units across campus to ensure that we're well aligned and can support you through the transition. Our Change Leader Network, they have access to subject matter experts, our program team, as well as the extended network to help answer questions from their departments. How can they help you? I encourage you to reach out to your change leaders in each of your units to give them your feedback, thoughts, questions, or perhaps concerns that you would like to raise about 2.0 so that they can escalate to the program team. They have dedicated time also with each of you to spend and share additional information about the program, as well as ensure that they retrieve your feedback. They can also share with you resources that we've made available. These include PowerPoint decks, meeting recordings, etc., and can point you in the right direction if you're looking for that additional information. I encourage all of you to go to your Ascend 2.0 website to see the roster and learn who your change leader is today. So thank you so much. On to the next section, where Janelle will provide a demo of BruinBuy Plus. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jennifer. So, as you know, BruinBuy Plus is a modern e-procurement platform powered by Jagger and configured to reflect UCLA business processes. This implementation will provide UCLA with an e-procurement tool that will streamline processes, automate workflow, and provide transparency within each transaction. From day one of our go live, users will receive an easy-to-use shopping interface. Automated central workflow will allow other business units to review, edit, and approve transactions within BruinBuy Plus, which eliminates that manual back and forth and can show the campus buyer where exactly their transaction is sitting in that workflow. AP processes will be automated, leading to a reduction of invoice processing errors, as well as lowering costs and cycle times by enabling compliance for prompt payments. Additionally, the guided buying that is built into the forms in BruinBuy Plus should reduce the process time by instructing and educating the campus buyer of all required materials, attachments, and information needed to complete their transactions. We are also excited about the increased collaboration that BruinBuy Plus will provide. AP and departmental buyers can communicate within the system to discuss any issues, manage discrepancies, resolve or approve exceptions. We will be taking these communications out of the current email inboxes of individuals and putting them into a central location where they can also be reviewed by other team members. Last and certainly not least, we will be able to manage our spend more wisely with BruinBuy Plus. The system will allow us to reduce maverick spend, identify sourcing opportunities where we are not utilizing contracts, and classify and track small business information, enabling users to include small business selection search in searches. Now we are going to view the campus premiere of the BruinBuy Plus end-to-end demonstration. We hope you enjoy. Hey, Chloe, we're not able to hear the sound.
Thanks, Chanel. 1 moment. This Hello, and welcome to this end-to-end BruinBuy Plus demonstration. In today's demonstration, we are going to show you, beginning to end, what happens when you submit a low-value order, LVO, shopping cart from the perspective of a buyer role in BruinBuy Plus. This will include creating and submitting your cart with the receiving flag, creating a receipt, and checking on payment status. For this demonstration, I will be assuming the role of a campus buyer. After I have logged into BruinBuy Plus through SSO. I'm going to place some items into my shopping cart, starting with a few chairs. I already know the item numbers, so I'm going to add them here into the simple search field. However, your searches may vary. If you would like to see more about creating a shopping cart and checking out, please watch our shopping cart demo in the description below. As you can see, we currently have 8 items in the cart, 3 different types of chairs, and are ready to do a final review before we submit. We highly recommend watching our video. Modify a cart to see how we can set up accounting codes, shipping addresses, and more. The link to this video is also in the description. For this demonstration, I have already set those options, but we will set the requires receiving flag. The receiving flag is optional but allows the department to require a receipt of goods and services before the invoice is released to accounts payable. It will then go through processing and payment. Certain items automatically turn on the receiving flag, such as the object code for equipment purchases, and if you make a purchase through the sub-award or research subcontract forms. Let's set the receiving flag now. Click the pencil icon next to the general section. Change requires receiving from blank to yes. Now we will do one final review of the shopping cart to ensure everything is accurate. For the sake of the demo, it is. Now let's select Validate FAU. Once this order has passed, we can then place the order. Select the Place Order button. Once an order has been successfully submitted, a confirmation page will be displayed. Because this order is an LVO, a purchase order is created with no approvals required. From the confirmation page, select the associated requisition number. It may take up to a few moments for BruinBuy Plus to generate the purchase order from the requisition and send it to the vendor. While you wait, you can check the progress on the History tab or the Workflow area in the bottom right to see what issues have come up or what's next. Once it is completed, we can navigate from the requisition to its associated PO. To view any updates on the status of the PO, navigate to the Status tab of the document. You can see here on the status page, the PO status is pending, and the PO is exporting to the UCLA Query Database, QDB. Eventually, this PO will become complete, which will show under Document Status in Workflow. You can also see the date and time when it was submitted to the vendor. Okay, it looks like my work as a department buyer for this PO is complete. I am going to turn over the demonstration to John Tan. Even though John didn't create the order, he has the same DAX viewable access as I do and can create the receipt on my behalf if I'm on leave.
Let's assume that Janelle is on leave and asked me to handle receiving when the chairs have arrived. Some time has passed and a few of our new chairs have come in. First, I will inspect the purchase to make sure it matches the order. Then I will go into BruinBuy Plus to mark them as received. If I forget, Janelle will receive a notification from BruinBuy Plus and would let me know to follow up. From the home page, I can go to the Reporting tab to view all my department's purchase orders. However, if I know the PO number Janelle created, it will be easier to search for it above. Select Purchase Orders from the drop-down menu. Then enter the PO number from the packing slip. If it is the exact number, it will take you directly into the order instead of displaying a list. Now that I can see the PO, I will navigate to the Receipts tab to create a receipt. The tooltip here tells me that we are about to create a quantity receipt. As a reminder, cost receipts are used for services, while quantity receipts are used for goods. Cost receiving applies when the declining balance checkbox is selected during the checkout process, which flags the purchase order to allow multiple invoices against the cost of the order. Since the chairs are goods, the tab allows us to create a quantity receipt by clicking the plus button here. The header section includes a variety of optional fields that allow you to name your receipt. Indicate the date products received, the packaging slip number, and finally add any notes or information. Here you can see the items that were included on the purchase order. You can adjust the amount you have received in these fields. For this scenario, let's say that we received lines 1 and 2 in their entirety. However, for line 3, we only received 3 of the 5 items ordered. I will change the quantity received on the receipt from 5 to 3. If appropriate, I can add serial number, information, or notes to the line. If I have not received anything from a line, I can also delete that line. The next time I create a receipt against this PO, it will again populate this field with the amount from the order. If you received for part of the order, like we did, then this field will display to the remaining chairs on the order. Once I am finished, I can select the Complete button. Now I can see that there is only one receipt associated with my PO. I can create a second receipt once the balance of my order arrives. For now, this completes the receiving process.
Okay, so some time has passed and it's time for me to review my orders. I'm beginning to wonder what has become of my invoice payment status. Now, I could look at the invoice section of the reporting dashboard, but the PO contains a bit more information, so I am going to start there. From my PO, I can select the Invoices tab to see all invoices against this PO, in this case, just one. This is in addition to what is still open and yet to be invoiced. I can see that the remaining 2 chairs on my order have not yet been invoiced. I can now select the invoice number to be taken to the invoice page. I can see here in the payment information section why pay status has changed to paid. The payment method shows an electronic funds transfer, EFT, and I can see the record number and the payment date. If my vendor should call me, I now have all the information I need to help them locate the payment on their end. We have now seen the entire life cycle of an order, from shopping cart to requisition, sending the PO to the vendors, completing the receiving process, and finally how to look up an invoice status. Thank you, and please be reminded to watch our additional videos in the links below and to visit the resources page of ascend.ucla.edu to view more demonstrations.
That was great. We hope you enjoyed the demo and premiere. Now we're going to turn it over to you, Dan, to start our Q&A session.
Great. Thank you, Janelle. Much appreciated. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. The Q&A button is down at the bottom of your screen. Second one from the left. You'll see we've got currently about 7 or 8 open questions, and quite a few have been answered by our experts. So you can also peruse those answered questions as well. Might help you with any pending questions you have. But we'll jump right into it. And also, if we don't get to all these questions, we're running about a half hour. If we don't get to them, they will land in the FAQ section out on the BruinBuy Plus website. All right. So let's start off. We have an anonymous attendee, our Sleepless in Seattle. Can you elaborate on the validate FAU function? Where does the requester input the FAU? Does the system simply look at the amount of the PO and see if the fund has enough money?
I can take this one, sure. Great observation. So there is a button prior to creating your shopping cart that says validate FAU. And what that's doing is per user, it's checking DAX essentially. It's looking to see, does this user have authority to transact against this FAU within the transaction value? If you can, you'll proceed and your order will be able to move on to the next workflow step. But if you are trying to transact against something that you don't have access to transact with for an FAU, or it's exceeding your limit, it will disallow you to be able to move on with your transaction. And as we go through, I guess one thing as I'm reading all of these questions, I know we have so many, and it's difficult to really conceptualize and understand what this tool is going to do. But I promise as we start to get into training, this will start to make more sense as you see it, touch it, hear it, and can continue to do that over and over.
Thank you, Janelle, for that. All right, moving on to the next question. For some vendors, they require me to create a tentative PO before they start working on our materials. Then months later, they provide a final invoice where I update the PO for final payment. Will this process be the same in BruinBuy Plus?
I guess I can take that. So yes, it would be similar. If I understand correctly, in the current state, you probably have created a PO first. And as the invoice comes in, you may need to adjust that PO. And yes, in BruinBuy Plus, it will be a very similar process.
Great. Thank you, Lexi. All right, Daniel asks, are the first 4 digits of the PO still the department number?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we can have concurrence. Excellent. Another anonymous. Oh, wait, Janelle? Did you have something?
Oh, no.
Okay, not a problem. I just saw your yellow box light up. All right, next question. Thank you for providing that the COA will be released in R2. Rephrasing my question, will there be an FAU to COA mapping tool application that authorized users can use once R2 is live to help us properly apply charting?
I don't know if we have anyone here from the COA. We may have to table that and come back to you. But well, you're anonymous, so I'm not sure how we're going to come back to you.
Well, we can again. That's a perfect example, Janelle. We'll put it into the FAQ out on the website, and whoever anonymous attendee is, you can go look for it on the FAQ site. How's that? Okay. Another anonymous. Currently, I submit final invoices to this website after I finalize a PO. Do I no longer need to do that process in the new BruinBuy Plus system? Looks like John is answering that question.
Hey, Dan. So I'll answer it live as I was typing
Okay.
it. So just to keep in mind that POs should always be created first to initiate a transaction. Vendors then would receive the PO with instructions on how to send the invoices, and there will be language within the PO once it's submitted to the vendor telling them invoices should be submitted to a designated email address that we will provide for them. Those invoices that they then will send to that email address will then get captured through digital capture in BruinBuy Plus, and it will be ingested in that manner. So ideally, folks should be following the normal procure to pay process where everything is predicated upon that purchase order. And then the campus department would then receive the goods and service, while AP will receive the invoices first. Now, if you're still in the business of receiving invoices directly first and then moving them over to AP, then technically you can still use that same email address to submit those invoices. But I highly suggest that you follow the normal procure to pay process where everything starts with a PO. We do have mechanisms in which in BruinBuy Plus where you can request an after the fact purchase order if you have the invoice in front of you and that you're creating the PO after you have received the invoice. But keep in mind that we would like to limit those submissions, those types of submissions, and have departments follow the normal procure to pay status, the normal procure to pay process as much as possible.
All right, John, thank you for that. Very in-depth answer. Much appreciated.
You got it.
Let's see. Next anonymous. If the initial requester receives a receiving reminder, what happens for those email accounts that are disabled when someone is on leave? Will the backfill have no way of knowing the receiving is pending?
Or I can take this. So the PO owner will be the one who is going to receive the notifications to complete receipt. They will receive a notification daily until that receipt is created. If that person is no longer here, or if let's just say they're on leave, anyone in that department can create the receipt. They won't get the notification, but anyone can go in and create the receipt. We can also, through procurement, update the PO owner so we can re-change who those notifications should be going to, but also through the workflow steps and the transparency that we're going to have in BruinBuy Plus. At any point in time, anyone can see where that PO, that invoice is sitting. So if somebody recognizes, oh, this person isn't here anymore, reach out to procurement. We will have the administrative authority to reassign or to help move things along. So we're not, I guess one of the things I'm just trying to say is we're not taking customer service out of this tool, right? We recognize there's still transactions and things that have to happen, and we are certainly going to be here to ensure things don't get stuck.
Thank you, Janelle. Much appreciated. All right, from Valerie. This question is not regarding the new BruinBuy system, but I have a time-sensitive PO I will like to get paid as soon as possible. I've already submitted an AP rush payment request form, but how can I ensure that the PO is paid on time?
Valerie, maybe we take this one offline as this is not directly related to the Roadshow.
Got it. Thank you, Janelle. All right, Mike Lee, one that is directly related. How do we sign up for this roadshow in the future? I was forwarded this invite from my manager. Well, first off, thank you, your manager, for getting you this.
There is information on, and somebody feel free to chime in, on our Ascend 2.0 website that has a calendar of upcoming events. And I believe through that calendar, you're able to click on it and register for these forums.
Excellent. Thank you, Janelle. Laura, Steffi, it looks like you've got one that you want to discuss this further offline, but it's discussing shutdown and the timing of creating POs at that point. So we can address that offline if you'd like. Kathy, our patient care clinics are open during the winter closure. Will there be a way to purchase supplies for the clinics during the shutdown?
Yeah, so we recognize the 2-week shutdown can be impactful, and that's why the go live date shifted a little bit to maybe give a little bit of grace to traditional transactions. We recognize that there's still going to be emergency things that need to happen, and within certain areas like yours, Kathy, where business as usual has to commence. So as we are finalizing what that 2-week shutdown looks like, we are developing an emergency PO closure process. So once that's fully developed, we will communicate that out. But I guess rest assured, we know things need to happen. We are providing a way during those 2 weeks to still allow those things to happen.
Thank you, Janelle. Eric's question. I'm still confused and concerned about tracking expenses sufficiently. We can't easily create our own project and source codes, correct? So we'll need to rely heavily on shadow databases. Someone discuss expenses.
Yeah, Eric, I'm gonna take a stab at assuming what you're trying to ask. You're concerned and confused about tracking expenses. Does this mean encumbrances, things getting paid? I mean, I guess just a little bit more clarification, if you don't mind putting that back into the QA.
We'll circle back around. Eric. Great. Shay has a question. Payment to foreign nationals as guest speakers or for honoraria is complex now. Has any part of Glacier been streamlined in BruinBuy Plus, or will Glacier processes be the same?
Or I can take it, but John, I'm going to tag you at the end. So we have brought in Crew, the central resource unit, into the workflow in BruinBuy Plus. So if it's a direct pay and it's foreign, it will route to Crew first for approval. If it's on a purchase request form, once the requisition completes the campus buyer's approval, basically their final step, if foreign and the services are performed in US along with a couple other criteria such as technology, services, or SaaS, and software. If it hits all those criteria, it will route to Crew for approval. So Crew will approve. What I think is also being asked is when they get a notification, they're going to, in Salesforce, get a ticket. Something's going to open a ticket for Crew to basically say, hey, a request has come in for you to review this transaction, BruinBuy Plus. From there, if Glacier is going to be involved, that specific process will remain as is. John, I think that's.
Yeah. Think you nailed it. Yes. and part of that approval process will be Crew being able to tell us on the AP side if that particular payment is subject to federal withholding, which they are the arbiters of. They're the ones that determine based on the Glacier record, country of citizenship, they're the ones that determine to AP and convey to AP if the transaction is subject to federal withholding taxes.
Hopefully that answered the question. All right, next question. Will departments receive a report of POs that will not be migrated and whose encumbrances will be closed?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know this has come up in several other forums. So we are going to have a list. Where and how we publish that or send it out, I think we're still trying to iron out those details, but we certainly can provide a list of all the purchase orders. I think it could go both ways that are going to get migrated over. I guess reverse, right? it would be easy maybe to find a report of the ones that aren't coming, but for sure we will have a list of all the POs that are going to get migrated over. And then we will give the dates out as we get closer to go live of when we will automatically be releasing those encumbrances in the subsidiary ledger that Alexi was talking to earlier, and when they will be closed out. The POs that don't migrate over, procurement internally is going to try and process out of BruinBuy as much as we can. There will also be then a final date where everything needs to be closed out of BruinBuy. And then as we get closer, we'll give you those dates on when those non-migrated POs will have their encumbrances released and closed out of BruinBuy.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, Stacy asks, my organization, International Institute, does not appear in the Change Leader Network roster. Did I miss it, or is it part of some larger category listed on the roster? We have Danielle on, Danielle Wynn. And Danielle, I don't know if you want to address this or.
Sure, can you repeat that question?
Sure. My organization, the International Institute, does not appear on the Change Leader Network roster. Did I miss it, or is it part of some larger category listed on the roster?
We're actually researching that right now, and going through the exercise of making sure we have change leader representation in all of our organizations. If there is a gap where we are missing someone, then we'll be going through a round of nominations in the next month or so. So I don't have an answer on that today, but it's an exercise that's happening currently.
Thank you, Danielle. All right. Next question. Where do you select the vendor? The example, just items number was entered in the search field. Where do you better department codes? I wonder if that's where do you get department code?
I think where do you enter department codes?
Oh, enter.
Perhaps. So great question. That demonstration was specific to a catalog, right? So we knew the vendor and we already knew the parts, so we didn't have to select the vendor. If you're shopping through catalogs, you just go to them. They're named, or you can search by an item or various filter criteria. If you're going to be using a direct pay form, which are the non-PO transactions, or a purchase request form, once you're filling out those forms, one of the very first pages you get to is selecting your vendor. This demo specifically didn't show that, but we do have other demonstrations. I believe in the chat, we gave those links out that highlight how to do that. This will also be discussed in our training as we start to get down that path. So you will be able to select those vendors. And where do you enter your department code? So based off of your user access coming from DAX into BruinBuy Plus, it's going to know who you are. So you won't actually manually have to enter your department code.
Thank you very much, Janelle. All right, Juliet, this is a great question. Did you look at other UC campuses when developing BruinBuy Plus? I started at UCLA 2 months ago, but prior to that, I worked up at UCSB with the purchasing portal called Gateway, which looks similar to BruinBuy Plus. So I assume they're both through the same developer. Are you still looking for staff input before launch? I found the UCSB purchasing portal very user-friendly, and I'm looking forward to the go live in January. So the question was, did we refer to other UC campuses?
Yeah, so UCSB does use Jagger as their e-procurement tool. I guess I'm not quite sure what a purchasing portal is. And Juliet, if you want to connect with us, if you go to the Ascend 2.0 website, it will give you an email address in which you can directly reach out to us. Certainly happy to hear thoughts.
Awesome. Great. Well, Juliet, looking forward to hearing from you. All right, Sydney asks, will the purchaser be CC'd on the PO email to the vendor? If not, can this function be added? It will help, as we often need to follow up with the vendors on statuses and confirm receipt.
Hey, Sydney. So no, that's something we're systematically limited to. But once your PO sends to the vendor, you're going to get a notification. And as we go through training, we'll teach and instruct and show how to do exactly just this, so that you can see when your PO was sent to the vendor, where your PO was sent, it's timestamped, and then you're able to follow up. But there's also a print functionality, let's say PDF print, to where you can actually extract that PO and see what the vendor received.
Thank you. All right, C asks, we can't copy and paste the links that are in the chat. Can you put them in the Q&A? I've just asked the team to do that, C. So hopefully they will start showing up in the Q&A section. All right. Tim asks, I have created P-class orders for all my vendors. I don't create individual POs for each order. How will that work?
Alexi, I'm going to look to you for this one. I've created a P-class order for all my vendors. I don't create individual POs for each order, so I'm assuming these are these blankets?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the question is. Could you elaborate on it? Tim.
That's Tim. Yeah, Tim, if you want to drop into the Q&A, we can come back and circle around to that. We'll leave it open for now. All right, Lori, can we give someone view access only in BruinBuy Plus and receiving only ability?
Hi, Lori. So our rules are pretty tight for R1. Happy to talk through this a little bit with you offline so we can better understand your requirements.
So we'll follow back up with Lori on that. Juliet, again, can anyone with the UCLA SSO create a cart to assign to a fund manager? For faculty with funds between multiple departments, will you make it possible for one PO to use multiple FAUs across separate departments with multiple approvers? That's a mouthful.
Let's bite this off as best as we can. And John, Alexia, help me out. Okay. Can anyone with a UCLA SSO create a cart to assign to a fund manager? So everyone must have a role in DAX to be able to transact and move through anything in BruinBuy Plus. For faculty with funds between multiple departments, will you make it possible for one PO to use multiple FAs across separate departments with multiple approvers? So if somebody has the ability within their DAX approvals to transact against multiple FAUs, yes, one PO can have as many splits amongst an FAU as necessary. And then what will happen is it will just continue down the workflow path. On the front end, there are no upfront approvals. So a fund manager wouldn't be approving. This is where those PANs would get involved and be able to review these transactions.
Yep, I think you got it.
All right. Let's see. Victor and Maureen both have training questions. So will there be in-person live training option? And then will there be training classes on the new system, or will trainings be only through recordings? I'm with the health system and do not use this system often. So Jennifer, you want to tackle the training? Or do you want me to? Oh, you're on mute.
I'll allow you to.
All right, thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, so Victor and Maureen both, there will be an in-person training option. And we'll have, there's also the e-learnings that will support that as well. So it'll be done through the Zoom system. We'll have multiple training opportunities in the time frame that prior to and past go live. So you'll have many opportunities to access that training, both before and after, if you need a refresher as we go through those trainings. So hopefully that answers your question. Again, we have in the newsletter, there's a training landing page, as well as on the Ascend 2.0 website. We also have training material or training information out there as well. So hopefully that answers. Yeah. Eric, we were bouncing back to your question. Okay, we organize expenses for a variety of reasons. It could be for donor stewardship, donor solicitation, around an event or series of events where we want to be able to organize expenses. We can do that easily currently by adding an ad hoc or ongoing project code and or source code to do so. It doesn't sound like the new system allows for that, which makes internal tracking reporting more difficult.
I'll take this one, Dan. So Eric, the full suite, the full available fields on an FAU will be available in BruinBuy Plus. So you can still add your project code and source codes as needed on your purchase orders to to organize your expenses. If you are one to use those codes or use those fields on a regular basis, it will be available for you to use in BruinBuy Plus.
Thanks, John. And then, all right, Marissa, what if you do purchasing for multiple departments? How do you toggle between these department codes?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So when you enter your FAU string, there's the department. So depending on what department you select, that's going to say, hey, this PO is for this department. Now, let's just say you have one PO that's getting split between two departments, two FAUs. If you split it, it will still identify that. So you won't necessarily have to toggle. You'll be able to select which department you want to align it with.
Great. Thank you, Janelle. Looks like Eunice is getting her question asked or answered by Alexi. Lori asks, in pediatrics, we have many different department codes, so having the system generate the PO number using one FS code would not be accurate. Where'd that go? How can this be addressed?
Find your question. Who did it?
Lori Crawford's number 2.
There are many different I guess I'm not. What's an FS code?
Yeah, that's the department code.
Oh, yeah. So I think we kind of talked about it in the question above. You'll have the ability to select the department you want. So when you're entering that full FAU string, there's a field that says department. You'll have to enter in the department there.
Lori, hopefully that answered your question there. Eric, and just doing a time check, we only have a couple minutes left, so we will get through as many of these as we can. And again, they will land in the FAQ section on the website. So Eric asks, what if I use 2 different department codes? Some expenses get posted to external affairs funds, others to the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health funds. So the question is, what if I use 2 different department codes?
Yeah, the BruinBuy Plus supports that. You're able to split your FAU amongst all those fields within the FAU, which do include the department codes.
Great. Eric, hopefully that answered it. Thanks, Janelle. All right, Crystal's getting hers answered. Back to Tim's question. Based on the demo, a PO is created and sent to the vendor. With the PO is a link for submitting the invoices. If I'm applying all my orders from a vendor to a single P-class PO, how will the vendor submit their invoice?
Okay, I think I'm maybe getting it. And Tim, keep telling us if we're wrong. So when a purchase order is now sent to a vendor, there's going to be ordering instructions that will populate automatically on all POs. One of those ordering instructions are going to be terms and conditions, and the other is going to be where to send your invoices. So anytime a vendor receives a PO on it, it's going to give them the email address for where they need to submit invoices.
Yeah, so I think what Tim may be referring to is that if he's compiling orders for a single vendor, multiple order requests from different folks from his department, and he's compiling it to a single P-class order, since it's going to be over, I guess in the new world, it's going to be over the LVO limit of 10K, then you'll still be able to do that. Combine all those orders into a single P-class order, and that would be basically a order that would, I assume, would be greater than the LVO limit of 10K in the new world. So yes, you would still be submitting it. You can still submit it in that manner if you're compiling orders together. Submit them to the vendor as one order, and the directions on the PO document that they will receive will instruct them on where to submit invoices for that purchase order. Hopefully that makes sense.
Great, thanks, John. All right, we're running out of time. There's 2, I think we can answer two very quick questions. Laura asked, will the DSAs be informed and updated of any new DAX-related functions being released? And the answer to that is yes. We're working with the DSAs right now for the process to get those updates happen. We've done a first validation. We're going through a second validation now, and we're going to maintain that through go live over the course of the months to make sure that all the DSAs are informed about those changes and updates that need to be made to the system. So hopefully, Laura, that answers that question. And then Victor asked, he was asking about non-Zoom in-person live training option. We're assessing that right now, Victor. The feedback we've gotten has been heavily people want Zoom, but we are doing an assessment to see if there is an ask for that in-person live training. So when we get the schedule established, we'll let you know which ones are Zoom versus on-campus in-person training. So hopefully that, I mean, we're a ways out before training is actually released. So you will, once we get the calendar built, you'll be able to see if there are in-person ones that you'd like to attend on campus. All right, so we are at time. There are 3 questions. We'll actually get those answered and put into the FAQ. So hopefully that works for everyone. At this point, I'm going to pass it
To me.
I'm passing it to Alexi.
All right, thank you then. So as always, there are many ways to stay involved. Please keep an eye out for our next 2 office hours to be held on Tuesday, September 19th and October 10th. We are extending both of these events from 60 to 90 minutes due to overwhelming response. Registration links will be sent out soon and should be available in the chat. Yes, it is in the chat. And you can also check out our YouTube channels for system demos, our websites for program updates, the various newsletters, and our hot topic webinars. Any final words, Dan?
No, Alexi, just wanted to thank everyone for participating today. We had a great turnout, a lot of great questions. I mean, over 50 questions in the queue got answered, and a couple more that will be addressed in the FAQs. So we hope this was informative, and we look forward to seeing everyone on the next activity, next BruinBuy Plus activities. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you, everyone.